I knew something was off when my login screen blinked twice before letting me in. Like even the system was starting to forget who I was. 16 years of flawless uptime, disaster recovery so tight it made the NSA look sloppy, and now the damn terminal was hesitating, like it was double-checking whether I still mattered. They used to call me Mission Control. When something broke, they didn't say call Dana, they sprinted, because Dana didn't guess. Dana knew. I could smell a misconfigured DNS record from 2 cubicles away. Once caught a malware payload just by noticing a half-second lag on an internal page. No one else even blinked. But now I was a relic. The kind of dependable workhorse they stopped cleaning and just quietly rolled into the barn. The new crowd didn't want reliability, they wanted sparkle. And I don't sparkle, I stabilize. And there's no award ceremony for keeping the world from catching fire. I survived 5 reorgs, 3 CEOs, and an outage so catastrophic it made our lead dev cry into his beard. I trained my replacements, documented my systems with military precision, and labeled every damn cable in the server room myself, because apparently colorblind interns don't know red from orange. But none of that mattered once Paige floated in on her cloud of digital transformation fog. Oh, real quick, since you're already here deep in this mess, maybe smash that subscribe button? 97% of y'all listen like church mice in the back pew and never hit it. It helps the team keep digging up these chaotic corporate tales, and trust me, it keeps me from stress-baking Ethernet cables. Anyway, Paige was 24. Shiny hair, shiny teeth, a LinkedIn profile that looked like a startup pitch deck mated with a lifestyle blog. Her job title made no grammatical sense, digital efficiency architect. I guess management's favorite buzzword generator wouldn't fit on a business card. She came in hot, called my scripts quaint and my rollback process prehistoric. During the first team sync, she asked, "Why are we still doing manual backups?" Like the words manual and reliable were interchangeable, at explaining how we had redundant encrypted offsite copies, how I tested them weekly, how a human eye beats an AI nanny when shit hits the fan. But Paige already decided I was a fossil. I let her have her opinions. Let her tweet out diagrams of synergized cloud-native mesh solutions or whatever verbal compost she was selling. But inside, I started sensing it. The shift. The little moments, her looping in junior admins on projects I'd spearheaded, excluding me from client-side update meetings, accidentally revoking my admin token for the load balancer dashboard. That wasn't a bug, that was a message. And the team, silent. Not out of malice, out of survival. You speak up, you get noticed. You get noticed, you get next. So I pulled back, not out of fear, out of calculation. You don't shout over a storm, you bunker down and let the roof rip off their house first. I started reviewing every tool I'd integrated over the last decade. Checked license keys, server access logs, endpoint dependencies. Not out of spite, out of muscle memory. Because when you've been the failsafe long enough, it's hard to unsee the tripwires. That's when I found it. One tiny line in my password manager, tucked between entries for long-retired services. WebRender Pro Enterprise account, primary, D. Hollies. License I'd acquired during the great budget freeze of 2017, when we were down to string, gum, and my personal MX to keep the main site running. Nobody else knew about it, because nobody else wanted to know. As long as the site loaded and the client stayed happy, they didn't ask questions. I clicked in. My breath stopped for a second. The billing cycle ended in 9 days. 9. No renewal on file. No backup contact listed. Just me. Just Dana the Dinosaur Hollies. I sat back in my chair, closed the tab, and smiled. Paige arrived on a Monday, just like the flu. Same smug viral energy, same condescending smile that said, "I read one article about Kubernetes and now I'm your boss." She breezed into the conference room in kitten heels and a blazer so tight it looked like it was holding her career together. Introduced herself as the new digital efficiency officer, which I assumed was short for cuts headcount to justify her salary. Her first words, "Let's talk about modernization." Her second, "Dana, can you explain why we're still doing nightly tape backups like it's 1994? Not even a hello. I glanced up from my notes. Because when the cloud goes down, tape doesn't ask for a password. She chuckled like I'd just farted in public. We'll fix that mindset. By Friday, she'd uninstalled our local monitoring tool, one I'd personally fine-tuned over 5 years. Said it was too legacy. Replaced it with some SAW-esque garbage that sent alerts in Slack emojis and once triggered a false outage when someone microwaved fish in the break room. Then she held an efficiency summit. That's what she called a PowerPoint with transitions and no backup plan. She paced in front of the big screen, clicking through graphs that meant nothing to anyone actually running the infrastructure, while the rest of us sat in ergonomic chairs wondering if our jobs were next on the chopping block. "Dana's systems are robust," she said to the room like I was an outdated IKEA lamp. "But we need to evolve beyond old-school redundancies. We'll be migrating everything to centralized cloud dashboards. One unified pane of glass." I wanted to ask if that glass was shatterproof. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Within the week, I started noticing glitches. My access to the license vault? Gone. My credentials for the high-availability router cluster? Temporarily restricted. When I flagged it to IT, I got a chirpy Slack message. Per new policy, all elevated accounts must be reapproved through the Digital Efficiency Office. Translation: Paige was locking me out of my own systems. Silently, methodically, with the kind of plausible deniability HR loves. She wasn't firing me. She was phasing me like a ghost in the machine, and the rest of the team, eyes down. No one wanted to be the next person streamlined. Even Bill, who once toasted me at the holiday party for saving our e-commerce stack from a malware bomb, now mumbled good morning without making eye contact, so I stopped fighting, at least outwardly. Inside, I was cataloging, not feelings. Facts: I made a spreadsheet titled Redacted. Password protected. No one knew it existed. Every tool, every integration, every API call that once flowed through my fingers, lined up and tagged, color-coded by vulnerability, expiration, and who could access them. When Paige deleted my access to the vendor ticketing system, I noted the unclosed tickets and the fact that she never requested a handover. When she claimed in a meeting that all backups were now automated, I cross-checked the logs. She'd set the cron job to weekly, not daily. That meant a 6-day data gap if anything failed midweek. She either didn't know or didn't care. Paige called me old school again during a Tuesday sync. Some of us just prefer human oversight, I said. She smiled like a shark in a kiddie pool. That's the problem. That night I stayed late, not to finish tasks, to finish something else. A private memo, a checklist, every thread I was silently holding together in that building. I didn't send it, not yet. I just wanted to remember what it looked like before it unraveled. It happened on a Wednesday. Because of course it did. Wednesdays are when corporate loves to roll out layoffs and pretend it's strategy. The kind of midweek massacre where they bring bagels to soften the blow and HR hands out folders like party favors. Only this one didn't come with a folder, just a PowerPoint and a smile I'll remember until the day I die. We were all crammed into the war room, fluorescent lights buzzing like anxious flies when Paige strutted in holding her iPad like a scepter. Thanks for joining, she chirped. Today's update is about organizational efficiency, specifically redefining roles to better match our future needs. That was her opener. No warning, no context, no shame. She clicked to slide 2. A flowchart popped up with my name, Dana Hollies, Senior Systems Manager, slowly fading out into a pale gray box labeled Legacy Functions Transition Pathway. I blinked. Someone coughed. Paige kept going. We're sunsetting the standalone sysadmin roles, she said, like she was discussing outdated wallpaper. Instead, we'll be adopting hybrid junior admin positions supported by AI-driven orchestration. Then she turned to me. Dana, you've done admirable work, but the tech landscape has changed. And with a flourish, like she was revealing a birthday cake, she opened her laptop, tapped a few keys, and click said, "You're officially offboarded. Your account's deactivated as of now." Smirked, looked right at me. "You're a dinosaur, Dana. It's time to evolve or step aside." The room went quiet in the way only betrayal can silence people. I swear even the HVAC paused to hear what I'd say. But I didn't say a word, no gasp, no righteous speech, no how dare you. I just nodded slowly, pushed back my chair, and stood up. Paige turned back to her slides like I'd already ceased to exist. Just another file deleted. Just another line item retired for budget optics. I walked out with my keycard still clipped to my belt. No one stopped me. No one made eye contact, except Roger from DevOps, who glanced up with an expression that said sorry, but not enough to help. I made it to the parking garage before the numbness started to thaw into something sharp and electric. Not anger, not yet, just clarity. That's when I remembered it. Not just remembered, felt it in my gut, that license. WebRender Pro. Our entire client-facing platform was rendered through it. Front-end display, dynamic UI elements, even the localization engine. Back in 2017, during a CFO-mandated budget austerity quarter, procurement had refused to pay the vendor fee. So I used my own business PayPal to purchase the license, rerouted it through my personal developer account, and marked it for annual auto-renew. No one ever asked about it again. The system kept working. Tickets kept closing. Management assumed it had been folded into standard IT expenses. But it hadn't. It lived in a forgotten shadow beneath the dashboard, quietly billing to D. Holly's once a year like clockwork. And now that account was deactivated, and with it the license key. I pulled out my phone, opened the WebRender admin panel, and signed in. Still worked. I scrolled to license overview. Next renewal 6 days, 14 hours, 11 minutes, and no backup contact listed. No secondary billing, no migration request, no system alert. Just me the dinosaur. I let the screen time out, slid the phone back into my purse, sat in my car with both hands on the wheel, engine off, listening to the echo of Paige's voice in my head. You're a dinosaur, maybe, but extinction, that takes a meteor. And honey, I'm no crater, I'm the comet. I sat in my kitchen, one hand wrapped around a chipped mug of black coffee, the other clicking through a browser window full of quiet power. No work badge, no employee portal, no Slack pings. Just me, a cat that doesn't like me, and a dashboard that still bore my name. WebRender Pro account owner, D. Hollies, renewal, 6 days, 3 hours, 48 minutes, there it was. The digital equivalent of a ticking time bomb duct taped under the company's shiny new bus. I scrolled through the license logs, every system ping, every API pull, every heartbeat call from the company's beloved front end, tethered directly to my personal subscription. Like a ghost they didn't realize was still holding up the roof. Paige hadn't even bothered to check. No one had. I stared at the renewal button. I could have clicked it, could have transferred the ownership. Sent a Slack message even now saying, hey, heads up, this license is still in my name. You might want to fix that. But then I pictured that meeting room, Paige's smirk, the way her fingers danced over the delete key like she was sealing a tomb. And I thought, no, screw that. I owed them nothing, not a warning, not a whisper. Certainly not another ounce of unpaid labor to save face for someone who made a show of erasing me, so I closed the tab. Instead, I pulled up my Google Sheets. Redacted final was the file name now. I added a note, primary web render license still tied to DH account. No migration in process. Renewal will fail. System will go dark. Probable panic window, tilde 48 HRS. I didn't smile, not yet, but I felt the corners of something twist. The funny part? Nobody at the company even noticed I was gone. No email, no we'll miss you, not even an offboarding lunch. I was vapor. Carbon dated and cleared. Paige, meanwhile, was apparently thriving. I saw the LinkedIn update from a mutual connection. Big congrats to Paige Munro for leading the modernization overhaul at Xeronis Corp, streamlining operations with courage and clarity. There she was in a photo, arms folded, half pivoted toward the camera like a damn toothpaste ad for ambition. And below it, a comment from our CEO, excited to see where Paige takes us next. They had no idea, and that's what stung the most. Not the deletion, not even the insult, it was the silence. 16 years, and the only legacy they cared to carry forward was a cleaned-up org chart. I paced my living room like a caged thing. Bitter, but free. Liberation's funny like that, it feels like falling and flying at the same time. I could taste the air, but the aftertaste was metal. That night I made a list, not a plan, a choice. Do I warn them? Pro, they avoid disaster. Maybe someone says thanks. Maybe they remember I existed. Con, they learn nothing. Paige keeps her crown. I become the sad old admin who couldn't let go. Do I stay quiet? Oh, natural consequences. Let them trip on the cord they yanked. Con, it's cruel and a part of me still cared. But then I remembered her words, you're a dinosaur. She didn't say it like a joke. She said it like a eulogy, like I was something to be buried. And that's when the choice made itself. I poured another coffee, opened my email, typed a draft with the subject line, web render license ownership, action required. Then I hovered over send and deleted it. Let them evolve, let them adapt. Let Paige prove just how streamlined she really is. 6 days to go. The email subject line read, you free yet? It was from Ellis, my old dev team lead from a project 3 years back, grizzled, allergic to meetings, and allergic to HR even more. I hadn't heard from him since he rage quit over a vendor integration debacle and vanished into contractor nirvana. His message was short and on brand. Heard Paige pulled some Silicon Valley Barbie move on you. You done with them yet? My team's hiring. Full remote, decent pay. No corporate bootlicking. Say the word and I'll send the NDA. I stared at the screen, fingers hovering. That weird little ache behind my ribs, whatever was left of loyalty, flickered and then died. I wrote back, one condition. No one under 30 gets to tell me I'm obsolete, and you owe me lunch. He replied with a PDF offer and a gif of a dog shredding a printer. I accepted by sundown. My last official day came and went like a weather report. Quiet, gray, forgettable. No one even realized I was still technically on the books, wrapping up permissions handoffs and final checklist items they hadn't bothered to assign. I dropped my laptop off with IT, no eye contact, no handshake. I passed by Paige's glass office once. She didn't look up. Was laughing with some junior analyst while pointing at a screen. I paused, not long enough to be noticed, just long enough to confirm she didn't care, never had. Downstairs I found Miguel, the janitor, wheeling his cart out of the supply closet. Hey, Miss Dana, he said, lifting his cap. I heard you're leaving, I nodded. Clock's run out. He frowned, that's a shame. You were one of the only ones who said good morning. He reached into his cart and handed me a candy bar. Those weird peanut butter things wrapped in orange foil. For the road, I nearly cried right there in the lobby. The HR exit form was just a Google sheet. No one called, no Zoom, no SurveyMonkey link asking if I felt valued in the workplace. I scheduled an exit interview on the portal, chose Friday, 10 a.m. At 10:17, the room was still empty. By 10:30, I stood up, shut my laptop, and deleted the event from my calendar. No message, no follow-up, just empty chairs and weak coffee. I took it as a sign. Approval had been the currency of my entire career. A tabloids, thank yous, urgent pings at midnight from VPs who needed a miracle. I used to live for that rush, for being the quiet hero no one remembered until something caught fire. Now, let it all burn. I walked out of the building for the last time wearing jeans, a hoodie, and a pair of sneakers I hadn't worn since college. Nobody stopped me. No alarms blared. No one asked for my badge. The only sound was the glass doors sliding shut behind me with a hiss like a sigh of relief. I sat in my car and watched the building fade into the mirror as I pulled out of the lot. My phone buzzed. Ellis again. You onboard Monday. Don't bring your trauma. We already got enough of that shit. Bring donuts. I laughed out loud for the first time in weeks. I was done begging to matter. Let Paige have her kingdom. Mine starts in 3 days. By Wednesday, I was knee-deep in onboarding at the new place, learning systems that didn't make me want to punch drywall. Ellis's team was scrappy, sharp, and blissfully allergic to buzzwords. No culture decks, no forced emojis in team chats, just real work done by real people who didn't need a ring light to validate their worth. And yet, every night before bed, I checked. Old habit, I guess, like poking a bruise to see if it still hurts. I'd open the browser, type in the URL for the old company's front-end portal and wait. Still up. Client dashboard loaded. Support chat widget blinked like it had a soul. UI running smooth. The WebRender heartbeat logs I used to monitor like a proud parent? Still ticking, last I'd seen, like nothing had changed. Part of me almost hoped they had figured it out. Maybe someone buried deep in Tier 3 support noticed the license expiration in time. Maybe Paige got a reminder email and quietly migrated everything behind the scenes to save face. Hell, maybe the system gods just smiled on their ignorance and handed them a grace period. But no, because at 12:03 a.m. on day 9, an hour no decent human should be awake, I opened my eyes. No sound had woken me, no nightmare, just something tugging. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand, thumbed through the tabs and refreshed the site. White screen. Then, fatal rendering error, invalid or missing license key, please contact your system administrator. I stared at it for a long second, letting the silence hum in my chest like a tuning fork. The air in the room felt cooler. Lighter. They hadn't caught it. No transfer, no migration, no rescue. The site was down, dead in the water. The digital face of the company page had so proudly streamlined, now a blank tombstone with an error message they probably couldn't even decipher. I took a screenshot, not out of spite, out of ceremony. Captioned it in my photo folder, Evolution in Action. Then I put the phone down, rolled over, and went back to sleep. No gloating, no maniacal laugh. Just that low simmering warmth in the gut, the kind that comes from justice served exactly how you ordered it. Cold, quiet, and with no fingerprints. I slept better that night than I had in months. By the time my coffee finished brewing Monday morning, the storm had already made landfall. I wasn't even looking for it. I was on autopilot, grinding beans, staring out the window like someone who hadn't just watched a controlled demolition of her former employer in real time. But my phone lit up before I could even pour a cup. Anyone else getting white screen on the Xeronis portal? Client login broken, ETA on fix. Paige Munro just locked her Twitter. I raised an eyebrow. Open LinkedIn. The buzz was louder there. Clients, consultants, even a few ex-colleagues with more courage than I gave them credit for, all posting vague but panicked updates. Rough morning. Hoping the product team at X Corp gets it together soon. We've had to pause onboarding for 3 clients due to unresolved rendering issues. Not ideal. If anyone knows a WebRender Pro consultant, DM me. Urgently, I scrolled. Sip by sip, the full picture came into focus like a car crash you can't look away from. Inside the company, it was DEFCON 1. The main product site was down, not partially, not glitchy. Gone. Client dashboards, offline. Support chat, non-existent. Demo pages used for sales pitches, blinking fatal errors like tombstones. I got the rest of the story later from a former coworker, one of the quiet ones who knew better than to cross page but still had a soul. The CTO, Rob, was already in the office when the system failed. Got called into a war room by 7:30 a.m. First assumption, a cyber attack. Then maybe a DNS issue. Then someone threw out the idea that a dev accidentally pushed something to production. But when they checked the logs, the answer was elegant. The rendering license had expired at 12:0001 a.m., tied to a now-deleted account. Primary holder D. Hollies. I imagined the moment Rob saw my name. That little jolt of recognition, followed by the hollow in his gut as it hit him, they'd offboarded the person who held the keys to the entire front-end kingdom. And Paige, she tried to spin. Oh, she must not have completed the offboarding properly. That's what she said in the room. Loud, confident, like someone who's never been held accountable before. But Rob wasn't buying it. He pulled up my termination file, my offboarding checklist, the final IT logs. I'd done it all, handed over credentials, returned equipment, flagged accounts still in use, checked every single corporate box like a damn librarian closing up for the apocalypse. Except one, the license no one asked about. The one no one knew to ask about, because Paige didn't do a technical audit. She did a power play. She deleted my account like it was a game of digital Jenga, assuming nothing important would fall. Rob reportedly went pale, left the room without a word. Shut the door behind him hard enough to rattle the glass. I sat on my balcony reading every frantic post, every vague apology, every buzzword-stuffed statement about unexpected system interruptions. I dunked a biscotti in my coffee and took a bite. Let them squirm. Let them align cross-functionally to explore actionable remediation strategies. Me, I had a full inbox, a working portal, and a Slack message from Ellis asking if I wanted dibs on the new DevOps dashboard naming rights. Catharsis doesn't come with fireworks. Comes with a quiet morning, a strong brew, and the knowledge that sometimes justice doesn't need a gavel. Just a login screen and an expiration date. My old work phone, now gathering dust in a drawer next to a tangle of forgotten charging cables, lit up exactly once that morning. Rob, CTO, blinked on the caller ID right before it switched to voicemail. Twice. I watched the missed call notification flash, then disappear forever. Because that number, long since redirected. My new SIM didn't even recognize it as real. Just another ghost knocking on a locked door. 5 minutes later, a ping hit my inbox, this time my personal email, the one I hadn't used for company matters in years. Subject, urgent. Request for technical consultation from legal at Corpcom. Dear Miss Hollies, we are reaching out in reference to a time-sensitive technical misalignment affecting our front-end platform. Your name has been identified in legacy account documentation. We would greatly appreciate your assistance in clarifying the current license access situation. Please respond at your earliest convenience to arrange a brief call with our engineering and compliance team. Respectfully, Xeronis Legal Technical Misalignment. That's how they chose to word a full-scale platform collapse caused by one smirking junior exec with too much power and zero follow-through. I didn't even reply. Just dragged the email to a fresh thread labeled forward to legal FYI only, CC'd Ellis's in-house counsel, and hit send with a smile so big my cat flinched. That was the beauty of my new job. I didn't have to handle messes I didn't create. I didn't have to fix what someone else so gleefully broke. I was already gone, not just on paper, but in soul. Meanwhile, back at the circus, the clowns were tripping over each other. Word spread fast. Paige was placed on temporary leave pending review. Translation: corporate speak for we don't know whether to fire you or pretend this never happened. My informant inside said she'd been escorted from the building before lunch. No laptop, no Slack access, no carefully curated color-coded Notion board. The backup recovery plan, if you could call it that, is apparently stitched together in a frantic 12-hour overnight sprint by a third-party vendor they'd ghosted 6 months ago. By Tuesday, parts of the site were loading again, albeit with default font and a weird floating image of a shopping cart no one could remove. Investors were asking questions. Clients were pulling contracts pending stability reassessment. My old manager, the one who once told me I was too attached to the old ways, posted something about taking a much-needed wellness sabbatical. I sincerely hope it's permanent. As for me, I finished a feature deployment by 4 p.m. sharp, no drama, no fire. Ellis sent me a high-five emoji and a gif of Gandalf shouting "You shall not pass," under a caption that said "Page this morning." I laughed, muted the thread, and logged off early. The win didn't taste like champagne. It tasted like silence. No mic drop. No viral LinkedIn post. Just me at peace, knowing they'd written me off as obsolete and built their empire on a license key I still held when the lights went out. The boardroom smelled like panic and printer toner. Rob sat hunched over the touchscreen at the end of the table, sweat blooming dark through the back of his collar. His hand trembled just enough to rattle the stylus as he clicked through the final breadcrumb trail in the license vendor portal. God bless the one intern who still had Dana's name scribbled in a decommissioning note from years back. A window popped up. Chrome's soft ding echoed louder than it should have. WebRender Pro Enterprise License Last Renewal, AUG3, 2024 processed via Business PayPal primary account holder. D. Hollies, retired auto-renew, disabled transfer request, not initiated account status. Inactive license expired. Rob didn't say much. Just stared. Then, oh my God, the room froze. Every exec, every director, every too young to speak up manager who'd once nodded eagerly while Paige tossed Dana out with a smirk, they all leaned in and saw it. D. Hollies, the ghost in the machine, the fossil they tried to pave over. Nobody dared look at Paige. She finally opened her mouth, whether to apologize or scramble for another excuse, we'll never know because someone else spoke first. No, just one word. From the head of finance, flat, sharp, like a lid being sealed on a casket, Paige's voice died in her throat. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was surgical, a quiet reckoning, a dawning realization that this wasn't just a hiccup. This was proof. Proof that ego had replaced competence, that they hadn't just deleted a user account, they'd amputated the nerve center of the company's infrastructure and patted themselves on the back for saving bandwidth. And out there, somewhere, Dana was gone. No forwarding address. No farewell LinkedIn rant. Just a legend now, wrapped in billing metadata and a fatal line of code no one else had the access or humility to check. Meanwhile, across town, Dana was finishing her lunch. She was seated by the window in a co-working loft that smelled like real espresso and sanity. Her screen showed a healthy CI/CD pipeline, no red flags, no fires. Slack chimed. Ellis just caught the headlines. Xeronis trending on Hacker News. Lol, heard what happened. Remind me never to underestimate you. Face dashing fire. She didn't reply. Just leaned back, stretched, and looked out the window. 16 years she gave them. 16 years of clean handoffs, flawless recoveries, middle-of-the-night saves they never saw, and they repaid her with a public deletion. Now, she didn't have to prove anything. Not anymore. Her name was still in the system. Not as a footnote, not as a legacy problem, but as the last working gear in a machine they thought they could run without her. No fireworks, just justice wearing her badge. One last time. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.